Imagine for a moment a desire so profound, so paradoxical, it defies conventional understanding, the desire to not exist. This is not a fleeting whim or a brief moment of despair. It is an enduring, profound longing that has been explored and examined throughout the history of philosophical thought. We exist. That is the undeniable reality. Yet this very existence brings forth the possibility of its antithesis, the desire to not exist. It's a paradox that has puzzled thinkers and philosophers for centuries, a riddle wrapped within the enigma of our consciousness. How can we, beings of existence, yearn for the void of non-existence? This desire, this yearning for non-existence, isn't about ending life but rather a profound questioning of the nature of existence itself. It's a deep-seated existential longing that transcends the physical, reaching into the very core of our being. A desire to not exist, a wish for non-existence, is indeed a paradoxical conundrum that has intrigued philosophers for centuries. The Stoics, an ancient Greek school of philosophy, had a unique perspective on the desire to not exist. Their philosophy was rooted in the acceptance of life as it is, with all its flaws and imperfections. They believed that the key to inner peace was not the pursuit of an idealized existence but rather the acceptance of the world in its true form. This acceptance, they argued, would allow one to focus on what truly matters, what is within one's control. They saw the world as a place of constant change and uncertainty. The only constants, they believed, were the actions, attitudes, and responses of the individual. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "We cannot control the events that happen to us, but we can control our reactions to them." So, how would the Stoics interpret the desire to not exist? They would likely see it not as a genuine wish for non-existence, but rather as a rejection of life's hardships. It's an understandable reaction, they might say, to the seemingly insurmountable challenges that life can throw our way. But to them, wishing for non-existence is the ultimate form of surrender, a refusal to engage with the world as it is. The Stoics would argue that the desire to not exist is a distortion of our perspective, a failure to accept and navigate life's inherent challenges. Instead of wishing for non-existence, they would advocate for a shift in focus. Concentrate on what is within your control, they would say. Accept life's imperfections. Engage with the world, with all its difficulties and uncertainties. In essence, the Stoics would likely view the desire to not exist as a misguided reaction to life's unavoidable challenges. They would challenge us to face these hardships head-on, to engage with them, to learn from them, and ultimately, to grow. Because in the Stoic view, life's challenges are not obstacles to our existence but opportunities for growth, for wisdom, and for peace. Remember, it's not the events themselves that disturb us but our interpretation of these events. Contrasting with the Stoic perspective, Buddhism offers a different interpretation of the desire to not exist. When we delve into the Buddhist philosophy, we come across the concept of nirvana, a term often misunderstood as advocating for non-existence. However, this is far from the truth. Nirvana, in essence, is the end of suffering, the extinguishing of the fires of desire, hatred, and ignorance that fuel the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, a cycle known as samsara. Buddhism does not promote the desire to not exist, but rather, it encourages liberation from this cyclical existence. It's about finding the middle way, a path between extreme self-denial and self-indulgence. This middle way leads to wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline, culminating in nirvana. In the Buddhist worldview, the root of all suffering is desire. It's not the desire to not exist, but the desire for impermanent things. This desire leads to attachment, which in turn leads to suffering when these things inevitably change or fade away. The goal, then, is to understand the impermanent nature of all things, and to free oneself from the chains of desire. The quest for nirvana is not a pursuit of non-existence, but rather a journey towards the realization of one's true nature, free from the illusions of the self and the external world. It's about seeing things as they truly are, without the distortions of personal bias or societal conditioning. In this light, the Buddhist approach to the desire to not exist can be seen as a profound desire for liberation, for the cessation of suffering. It's about embracing the impermanence of life, understanding the nature of desire, and striving to free oneself from the cycle of samsara. So, does Buddhism advocate for non-existence? No. It advocates for liberation, for the ending of suffering, for the realization of one's true nature. The desire to not exist, then, could be a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding of the profound teachings of Buddhism. In Buddhism, the desire to not exist could be seen as a misinterpretation of the pursuit of liberation. Existentialist philosophers, on the other hand, delve directly into the human condition and its inherent anxieties. They ask the hard-hitting questions: why are we here? What is the purpose of life? And in their quest for answers, they often stumble upon an unsettling truth: the universe doesn't owe us any explanations. This realization can be profoundly disturbing, leading to a sense of despair and alienation, a phenomenon existentialists refer to as the anguish of existence. This anguish, this existential dread, can sometimes be so overwhelming that it fosters a desire to not exist, to escape the unending carousel of questions without answers. Existentialism, however, does not stop at despair. It goes beyond, encouraging individuals to confront the absurdity of life head-on. The existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus argued that life, in its essence, might be devoid of any inherent meaning or purpose. But it is precisely this lack of preordained purpose that liberates us, granting us the freedom to carve our own path, to imbue our existence with a meaning of our own making. They invite us to dance with the absurd, to accept the lack of cosmic purpose, and to take responsibility for our own lives. It's a call to arms, to rise above the despair, to embrace the freedom that comes with life's inherent absurdity, and to create our own meaning in a universe that remains stubbornly silent. And so the existentialist perspective on the desire to not exist is not one of resignation, but one of empowerment. It suggests that this desire, this yearning for non-existence, is not a solution, but a symptom of our inability to navigate the turbulent waters of a life devoid of handed-down purpose. The existentialist would argue that the desire to not exist stems from an inability to cope with life's inherent meaninglessness. But they would also argue that this despair, this desire for non-existence, can be transformed, can be channeled into a force that propels us towards a life of authenticity, a life where we are the authors of our own meaning. As we've explored, the desire to not exist is a complex and multifaceted issue. It's a question that has been pondered by philosophers and thinkers throughout the ages, each bringing a unique lens to this profound existential quandary. Let's take a moment to reflect on the perspectives we've delved into. The Stoics, with their emphasis on acceptance and the natural order of things, suggest that we should not resist the inevitable but rather embrace it, finding tranquility and understanding our place within the universe. They offer an approach that encourages us to focus on what is within our control, and let go of what is not, which can potentially alleviate the desire to not exist. Then we have the Buddhist view, which posits that the desire to not exist may stem from suffering or dissatisfaction. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is an inherent part of existence, but it also provides a path to alleviate this suffering, through mindfulness, compassion, and the cessation of desire. The Buddhist perspective invites us to transcend the self and realize the interconnectedness of all beings. Next we have the existentialists, who view the desire to not exist as a manifestation of the human condition's absurdity. They argue that in a world devoid of inherent meaning, we are free to create our own. This freedom can be both liberating and daunting, potentially leading to existential angst and the desire to not exist. Despite their differences, these philosophical perspectives share a common theme. The desire to not exist is a response to the inherent challenges of existence. Whether it's the Stoics' acceptance of nature's order, the Buddhists' path to alleviate suffering, or the existentialists' embrace of life's absurdity, each offers a unique approach to navigating this complex issue. The desire to not exist prompts us to question our attitudes towards life, suffering, and our own existence, and these philosophical perspectives provide us with different lenses through which we can explore this profound existential question. As we conclude our exploration, it's clear that the desire to not exist is not a straightforward wish, but a deep and complex philosophical issue. It's not about vanishing into thin air or escaping life's challenges, but rather a contemplation of our existence's profound intricacies and the roles we play within it. The Stoic perspective, the Buddhist view, and existentialism offer us different lenses to understand this desire, each with its unique insights and interpretations. They challenge us to delve into the depths of our consciousness, to question our existence, and to consider the profound meaning of not existing. So, as we step away from this topic, Let's not step away from the thought. Let these philosophical perspectives continue to resonate within us, inspiring us to ponder, to question, and to understand our existence in this vast universe. Whether it's a call for liberation, a reaction to life's challenges, or a response to existential dread, the desire to not exist continues to provoke thought and debate, reminding us of the intricate complexities of the human condition.